This is Lair Media. To whom it concerns, welcome to the panel.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome along to this edition of the panel with Tony.
What happened there now?
With Tony Browne and myself, and it's on Thursday, the 20th of March. Welcome, Tony.
Yeah, good. No, Pat, oh no, I'm back now. I'm okay. I was missing there for a minute. Well,
Tony's okay, lads. Despite what you might think him, he's fine. I think he's in good health. We're all recovered from our marching last Monday on our National Day of celebration, St. Patrick's Day. And if you were looking at our program week and the week last, you'd have found out from Tony who he was and how he came about to be here. We had a visitor at the White House during the week, Tony. Did you see that? Conor McGregor and his family were in the Oval Office, mind you. It doesn't get any better than that for him, you know. He was in the Oval Office, you know. And some people took exception, but that's the way life is, you know.
He said he was his favourite Irishman. So how many Irish people would he know? Trump.
Well, I don't know. I mean, McGregor was a big world star in UFC. You know, he was one of our first superstars in UFC.
He's favorite Irishman. That's an insult to everybody.
Yeah.
You know, but then Trump would be used to that kind of thing. You
well,
know,
he was, but he'd said a few things in his speech, in his short speech. You know, which I think people found. I don't know if he's going to run for president or not. You know, in order to get a nomination to run for president in Ireland, it's totally controlled by Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, because firstly, the way you get your name on the ballot paper, and I think it should be changed anyway, you must get 20 members of the Oireachtas to sign your ballot paper. That's one way.
How's Higgins is Higgins was a Labour man.
Who?
Jesus, I can't give his name this minute. Our president.
Michael
He was a Labour minister. It's just controlled by Fianna Fáil. Plus, Mary Robinson was a Labour as well.
Yes, she was a senator, sir, for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So the only other way then you can get on the ballot paper is to get 4 county councils to nominate you, and you can get on the ballot paper. Now, after the last local government elections, most of the councils are controlled by Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. They are not going to give a nomination to a personality candidate or an independent candidate, you know. So that's the only 2 ways you have of getting on the ballot paper, which is very, very restricted.
How did Michael D get nominated then? If he's
the Labour Party.
He was a Labour minister.
The Labour Party.
Yeah, but who?
He was. No, but he was an agreed candidate.
Yeah.
Which meant all the main political parties voted for him.
But you'd imagine if they were that much against him, they wouldn't have voted for him, you know.
Yeah.
If I was that inclined, I wouldn't have voted for him, you know.
Yeah, and
the same with Mary Robinson.
Well, he'll be finishing up now in November. So there you go.
Nice.
After 14 years.
Yeah, I suppose I didn't mind him there anyway. I thought he was good. Well, able to talk Irish as well, you know.
Yeah.
And his family. He was living out in Ellen Park, out in Dennis Road, and then he went on to live in I think Newmarket Fergus.
That's right.
He moved on to Galway to hire things all together when he was in UCG. But like that,
when he was Minister for the Gaeltacht, that was the one good thing that he promoted and advocated for was an Irish television channel, TGCar, which is a superb channel. And it doesn't get the recognition it deserves, but it's a superb channel. You know,
I watch it all the time. Doesn't the night goes by? I checked it down there a lot tonight. Doesn't the night goes by when I wouldn't be watching TG4?
Yeah.
And it's a great station. And even if you don't only pidgin Irish, you'll still understand what they're on about.
You would, yeah. It is very good. I think it's a fantastic achievement, and I'd be a big supporter of it anyway, you know.
Yeah.
I know today in the local one of the local papers here in County Clare, the Clare Echo, there was a campaign on recently to save the post office in Lisdoonvarna. Now, Lisdoonvarna is known the world over anyway, through the festivals that used to be and all. But the post office was due to close next Friday. That's tomorrow week, 28th. But I see they've got somebody now has come forward to take it on, and there was good news for
It's a very
Lisdoonvarna.
hard job because the one near me closed last year, and
Yeah,
like that, it's a big loss as well. And I remember talking to the postmistress about it, and she was telling me the pressure she was under, making sure the monies are in, what's paid. And the whole thing is, oh, she said, it's a terrible job, and they couldn't get anybody to do it. And there's
and now I saw in the paper, Tony, that the post office in Lahinch is under pressure as well because next month the people who are running are retiring, so they'll find it very. Now you would think that that would be a busy post office, particularly in summertime when you have
summertime.
a lot of visitors in there.
But then again, most people now are getting their pensions paid into accounts, you see.
That's true.
That's true when I was in the collection. And more people didn't just want cash. So if they want cash, they'll have to go to the post office. And I mean, there's very few stamps being sold. There's very few letters being delivered because the price of stamps has gone crazy as well.
It is, and I notice people aren't writing letters anymore, are they?
It's a pity. It's a
I
pity that
mean,
people are writing letters as such. Although I suppose emails are quicker and you can get a response straight away to that person that you want. Whereas
true.
letters can go astray, they can go into the wrong hands. So you could
I mean,
have complaint to a company and the person gets it and throws it into the bin. I've heard of that happening, and that's very.
would they not throw it into the bin anyway?
Yeah, so you'll be to letters that are done away with. Whereas at
Yeah,
least if you have an email, that person can only access it unless somebody else was able to access the computer and see what the
exactly.
email are. But usually they'll go to the person. But like that, the post offices, there'll be a big loss. And somebody will,
And I was reading. I mean, there must have been. Well, there was a post office in every crossroads when I was growing up. I'm sure the same for you. No matter where you went, you'd always get a post office, and they were absolutely vital at one stage. Maybe but although they do provide an awful lot of service and provide banking services as well for you, in the post office, and but
people don't realize that.
you can do your banking there as well, and pay all your bills and all of that. But people like that, and it was a more important to rural communities than urban ones because it was a focal point for catching up in news and meeting the friends around you and meeting people from the parish, and
Mhm.
gets you up in news as well. So it was a good social function. I think there are only 32 or 33 post offices left in the Republic
Yeah, it's hard to believe.
altogether.
Yeah, it's hard to believe.
Yeah,
But in Limerick, I think there are only there's four in Limerick now. Well, there's one or two then on the outskirts, like in some of the shopping centres have uh, post offices as well, mixed in with shops. But there are very few of them in Limerick. When I think about it, you have the GPO, of course, and you've one up in South Hill, and you have one out in Mary Street. I know.
you're one there behind the band place in Garryowen down the street there, the side street, your post office down there.
What about Neville?
Yeah,
No, what about High Street?
I know what the name of the street is. When you're driving up towards the Markets Field,
Yeah.
before you get to the
Oh,
Markets
yeah,
Field,
in Garryhone, like in
you
Garryhone
can
Road.
get down to just down
Yeah,
there. Yeah, there's a post office down there.
oh, I
Yeah,
forgot that too, yeah.
yeah.
So, but as I said, most
And
ones are,
there's one down near Jack Chews's up the road from it.
yeah.
There's a post office there as well.
Yeah, sometimes you forget, and a lot of them have gone over the years. And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
same with the phone boxes. The phone boxes have gone altogether. You forget,
Yeah, you won't
there's
see any of it.
no for defibrillators, like there's one or two that have been kept on for that, and
Yes,
they've been used for that. And
which is good.
they go because people have mobile phones. There's nobody going to coin boxes now.
No.
Everybody is. And if you were stuck, I'm sure you'd meet somebody that would let you make a call from their phone if you were stuck in the street and you lost your phone. You still wouldn't have to go to a coin box. But the coin boxes were filthy anyway, some of them were. Oh God, they were terrible.
You couldn't handle them, yeah.
No,
They weren't kept clean, and we didn't keep them clean.
no, no.
So you have everybody using them,
Oh, yeah.
Workers, anybody. So it was hit and miss sometimes, But they were very handy at one time. But as you know, progress has left a lot of that behind. But that was a victory for common sense, I think, up in this Dunrana, because that's a pretty good place anyway.
This Dunfermline, so you forget how far away it is, from
It is.
this. It's a fair bit up. And
Up
of
is
course,
a nice drive up,
there's the Ices of Galway, which you kind of forget about. There's Sonny of Galway as well. They protect that. It's very far away. You think it's done, being out near Kilkee or Lahinch or something, but it's way further up the coast.
Now, you're joining us here on the panel on their media. All our programs are up on our YouTube channel. Press the red button on the right hand side to subscribe to our channel, and our email is there and our phone number if you want it. Come on any night, you're more than welcome. I saw, Tony, that the band competition was held as well in Limerick over the weekend, and the thing. I didn't get in there, I must say.
Either. I didn't bother. I'm sick of going down to it because you're standing waiting for a band and then they pass you out, and then what happens? The whole thing is delayed because they're below playing for the councillors, who most of them anyway wouldn't know a crotchet from a bull's ear. Most of them.
Would they not know a quaver from a semi-quaver?
Well, as I said, a crotchet from a bull's ear, and they're tone deaf, so they are anyway, I'm sure. And they wouldn't know, and they'll be all playing for all these clowns up in this thing, and they're all pretending they're enjoying it, and half them are bored out of their skull. I've went down many a time looking up at them, and you've all these hangers-on who get in because they know somebody in the council will get them a seat there, and they've the more interest. They fly up in the air. So, and I've written for years into the Limerick Leader, and then they're playing all the what I call foreign tunes. They don't even play Irish airs, most of them, which is a pity. That it's a bad should be and the rest, some of the groups. I mean, the way they're dressed, man, it's disgusting the way some of them are dressed. I saw for the first time I saw the Dublin parade, and it was more like the carnival in Rio. I mean, this is ridiculous the way some of them are dressed. They must be freezing cold.
Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, the parade in Dingle was on at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Always is. Always
at 6 o'clock in the morning, which I think is a nice idea, actually. Nice enough. You have the rest of the.
Somebody was telling me about. There was a parade in Lahinch now, which I told is a huge crowd there. And the girl was telling me she was in Lahinch for the parade, and I said, "Where did the crowd come out of?" I don't know. She was packed. There were lots of people there.
And there was a parade in Tulla as well, which is the biggest one they had. The biggest one they had for a while.
Every county in a town, I should say, in County Limerick has one as well. And you get committees that will try their best, because the main thing is children marching for dancing schools and the local scouts, and they look forward to it every year.
I saw a good bit of New York's parade, which is very, very well done, I must say. But they're fabulous, They really highlight Irish culture in their parade, which is what it's all about anyway, So I'm complimenting on that,
There was a big one in London on Sunday. And
they had a very big one in London, which is happening again.
It's well looked after, But anyway, like that, it's great to see it being recognised, really, and poor old St. Patrick and all the stories about him. But just good luck, in that sense. Did you see where what's his name, Micheál Martin, was over with Trump, and they mentioned, what's her name, was after coming here to live, Rosie O'Donnell. Micheál Martin hadn't a bull's notion who Rosie O'Donnell was. If he had a computer near him, he could have went to the Wikipedia, which a lot of them do. When they want to find out something quick in a hurry, when they don't know, they'll check out Wikipedia, But you'll know somebody that's bluffing when they're going to Wikipedia.
Well, Donald Trump lost a trick there, and that he should have inquired if Rosie O'Donnell plays golf. He could give her membership to Doom Bay Golf Club. She could play golf there.
Who does
Donald
say?
Trump could have given her Rosie O'Donnell membership of Doom Bay Golf Club if she's coming over to Ireland.
Oh, she's here already. I think she's living up is she living in Galway or in Dublin? I can't think.
I don't know.
She's very funny. You know, I've enjoyed her now a couple of times. I've seen her. She's great wit, but like that, she's not living in America anymore. Anyway, she doesn't want her children. She wants one or two children. She doesn't want them brought up in America at all. And I suppose from one sense, you admire her for that. That's her own choice, you know.
No, from time to time, Tony, we thought, oh yeah, there was a photo opportunity today in Limerick. I know you missed it. I know I missed it. The new Minister for Health was down to get her photograph taken outside the hospital. Had to do something. My God.
She was on about the regional, the UHL outside. She didn't know what she was talking about. She hadn't a clue. I don't even think she knew what she was. But I'll tell you something, she's well able to talk her. I had her been interviewed before, and she keeps arguing and arguing, you know. She said, oh God, I'd like to meet her, you know, I would like to be her husband because I'd say she'd beat you down talking, you know.
But, the thing about it is, people have been on social media complaining about her. And I said, what are they complaining about? They came out in their thousands upon thousands and voted for them. What are they complaining about? What do they expect them to do? The right thing? For God's sake. She said she's waiting another report.
I heard her. She didn't know what she was talking about, you know. And they left her away with it, you see, as well. Whereas I know somebody can't say it. I used to do it, but the only thing then is the interviews, the politicians won't come in for you. No. When I had a politics program on the old RLO station,
they
wouldn't come in for me.
No.
They just weren't coming in because they'd heard the last awkward questions. And if not awkward, they thought they were awkward, and I thought they were honest questions, but they weren't in for you, see.
No.
Whereas you want today now, you mentioned, said to interview her, what are you talking about? You know, you should have said to her in the middle of it. She didn't know herself. But they're getting away with it. You know, the people are voting for these politics.
People vote them in, and I don't know what they're complaining about. I have no idea what they're complaining about. It doesn't make sense to me, you know. Anyway, it does not, certainly not. And everybody, even the dogs of the street, accept that there has to be another emergency department provided here in the Midwest. It's common sense.
Do you know what? Something that's come to my mind as well. Last Saturday, I was basically nearly accosted by this fella who wanted to show me something in the back of his van. I said, well, what are you taking me for? I just want to show you something, he says. I went over to his van anyway. What he did in the back of the van, I thought it was some kind of a joke first. He had about 12, what you call the things for boosting the electricity? Can't you get generators? 12 of them in the back of his van. He says to me, will you buy one of these? He says to me.
Oh.
I looked at him and I said, I want one of them. I've no use for one of them, you know. And he says, trying to take one off me, says he. And I said, what? And he held up, look, he says to me, I'm not the charging fellow over there, no one over there. He says to me, a charging fellow, and 700, I said, I charge for him, you see. So I said again, I don't want one. They're very handy, you know. And look, he says, how many fingers am I holding up? And I said, 5. 5 to use, you see. So I says to him, I am not interested, you know. Look. I'll tell you what I'll do for you, see. I'll tell you. How many fingers am I holding up now, see?
4.
4, I said. No.
So do I have? All I have is 50 quid on me. That's all I have.
Well, I said to him, I don't want, if you give it to me for nothing, I said, I'm not interested in one of them, you see?
Yeah.
So, look, he says, look. You haven't got a deposit on you, have you? I said, I haven't. You've no money on you, no, I said. And how are you getting home? How are you getting home? She said to him, my wife is collecting me. Wouldn't she be collecting it in about half hour to an hour's time? And she has the money, I said, you see? He said, well, I'll tell you then, 3.5, he says to me. 3.5. So I says to him, look, I said, you're not listening. I don't really want one. Oh yeah, he said, then, where's your car? And I put it into you. I don't have a car. My wife. So look, I said, you can wait all you like. And I want to get rid of him. Then I said, I'll be waiting over there. I said, in that doorway for my wife. She'll be here, I said, in about 3/4 of an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep a lookout for you. You could still be looking.
You could tell her she'd be driving the Rolls Royce.
But he had about 12 of these things inside in the back of the van. Where did he get them? They were in boxes. I thought they were microwaves first.
No.
I mean, I don't know. Where did he get them? Like, I'd like to be able to say to him, like, where'd you get those? And how much did you pay for them?
I mean, obviously, a generator would be handy if you had a business that you were depending on the power all the time. But
yeah,
the routine run-of-the-mill domestic houses don't really.
I was telling me all this. They're genuine and they're new and they're in box. And I can say that. I said, but I'm not interested. I said,
Yeah.
If I had my car here, he'd went on. See, that's I was talking to a man about it now, and he said that's what they do. They put it into your car, and then you have it. You see, and he can say, "Do you have it? Where's my money?" You see, So I tell him why he was intimidating, and he knew. I knew that.
Do you think he was local?
It was kind of local, The accent alone, I know where he was from. Did
they have a record fair in the market over the weekend?
The record fair to be often on there. They were the same records. Yeah, it's often on. There's one coming up now. I think is it next week or the week after? There's one coming up as well inside the milk market on a Saturday and Sunday. And last weekend now there was the antiques fair was on outside the race course. That was on Saturday and Sunday, and they like that. There were hundreds of that. It was very, very popular.
Did you go out there?
Did I? I did.
Yeah,
I did. It was packed, and it's hard to believe there's so many would go.
But was there good stuff there?
Oh, there was good furniture, you see. A lot of people buy furniture at these things, ornaments, sets of wear, and that Waterford glass, which I can't stand. And the way people buy Waterford glass, because I've inside presses and they're only looking at it. You should be using it if you have it,
Yeah, I thought so, yeah.
Kind of a status symbol 2 years ago. People had Waterford glass, which is a great thing. Terrible dust collectors, But like that, they sell that there, and they sell, a lot of ornaments now. But what I mean by ornaments is some expensive things.
You know what's very nice too is you talk about that is Tipperary crystal. It's quite nice too.
But a lot of them glass.
Before you, if you're driving down to Waterford, before you get into Carrick-on-Suir, on the left hand side there's a Tipperary crystal big huge shop. It's a attached building on the left hand side going into Carrick-on-Suir, and it's a fantastic shop if you ever wanted to buy something special for someone or yourself.
You were buying them that glass. What did he do with it? Put it into a glass case. You kind of wonder, Because one's father actually was the manager. What's her name? Batchick. Ivana Batchick. The Labour Party. Her father was the manager down in Waterford Glass. That's where he came in there.
Oh, is she from Waterford?
What? Yeah, that's what he came into, you see.
All right.
And how she got involved with the Labour Party, I don't know. But there was a friend of mine who died a few years ago, a good friend of mine, Joe Remington. Joe was a senior counsel, and Joe was very friendly with her. I know that through the Labour Party, because Joe advised her to Dick Spring. And Joe was very good now. And he should be been a judge. But he'd never be a judge because he was a member of the Labour Party, They never make him a judge, Because there's some judges there now, new one. There's like that Enoch Buck's family now. It was great that they got into that thing in America last week,
Yes. To highlight Carry On. It is over the top, It's really not. It's unfair.
Yeah, but then what they're doing, I was thinking that, does the judge know that put him away, or the fella that's reviewed, I think some fella reviewed it the other day, what do they not think of him at night? Let it be on my conscience if I put somebody away like that. Do their families know this? Have their young children that are proud of their father a judge, that would do such things. I cannot. It's beyond me how that isn't that happens. I mean, and now they want to take all his salary, up to 80,000 from him. He's still being paid by the Department of Education. I mean, it's really heartbreaking to think what he's after going through.
Well, it's a desperate injustice, and we've seen many of them down through the years in this small country of ours. Terrible injustices, and and people get away with it.
But you'd imagine the judge had he got any conscience to do something like that to somebody?
No.
The power that the judges have, it's unreal.
And it's never challenged.
And you can do nothing about it. I mean, he told his brother the other day if he didn't be quiet, he'd have him in contempt of court. Contempt of court. We're supposed to be living in a democracy.
Well, I mean, a democracy now is a word that's bandied about, but are we in a democracy? Well, certainly we're a bit far from it here in this country anyway,
Yeah, you'd wonder, and the people that made them judges, so I can't understand. I don't think they have to do any test. In England, you have to do a big test before you become a judge. I mean, how many of these judges even lived in working class areas?
Well, you don't have any member of the judiciary, and I'm open to a correction, from a diversity of society in Ireland. They're all from the same schools and the same handful of schools.
They were all brought up and they were sent to private schools mainly, and then sent from that onto university. And then, and usually their fathers were judge or solicitors before. The whole system, it'll never be fixed in my lifetime anyway, and it's worse is getting. But
now, for people who know Tony Browne, they know that he's one of the main collectors of memorabilia from the 1958 to 1970. I suppose I'd be right in saying, would that be roughly the showband era in Ireland?
Sorry, who was that?
From 1958 to 1970 was the heyday of the showbands in Ireland, I would say.
Before, yeah.
Yeah. And we often had a discussion here about who would you consider, and it's very difficult to consider anyone, but one of the best singers from that era, because they were singing different styles. I know that,
Just loads of different styles. Some of them would just make an impression on you. Tony Wood is one of the best I ever had.
Yeah.
Tony Wood is a great singer, and he's a great volume, and he could sing so many different types of songs,
Yeah.
And whatever became of Tony Wood, whether he's dead or alive or horseback, well, he'd be in his 80s now, So you'd wonder, some of these singers over the years, some of them were very good. They never felt as any kind of Oliver Coyle. I remember with the he sang with, God, I can't get the country band, the Melody Aces. He used to sing stuff now, and I remember, but you get different singers in different bands. Some of them went in, but what they're calling country music now is awful.
I mean, one of our finest, or one of the many fine singers, was Brian Call. Brian Call.
Even better. And most of his tunes have got to do with
yeah, he is now there.
Oh, that's Brian. Yeah, he's Slim Whitman. He kind of lifts that. A lot of singers do that.
And he was in good demand because of his versatility. He sang. He was one of the opening acts to sing for when Jim Reeves was touring Ireland. Brian Call opened the shows for him, and he also opened the shows to Charlie Pride and other people who came to Ireland on touring. So he played very well. We're going to take a blast in here.
On a lonely range in Kansas, I've seen the sunflower grow. From the town of Hiawatha to the wheat fields of Big Bow. I've traveled through Missouri to the state of Illinois. Since I left my home in Ireland when I was just a boy. Sure, in all my years of traveling, many wondrous sights I've seen. But I've always kept in memory my homeland, oh so green. And I think about my childhood days that I remember well. For I played with my companions on the hills around Clonmel. Sure, my heart's in Tipperary for I love each hill and dale. From the famous Galtee Mountains to the lovely Golden Vale. And tomorrow I'll be on my way to scenes I love so well, where I played with my companions on the hills around Clonmel. I've sailed the big blue river with its water clear and pure, but it hasn't got the charm of my native river shore, where we feast for trout and salmon and we watch the morning dawn, and we hear the fox a-howling on the slopes of Slievamon. It was there I met my first love when returning from the town. On the slopes of Kilnaman, for a rest we both sat down. There I put my arms around her and she promised not to tell, and I kissed her in the moonlight on the hills around Clonmel. Sure, my heart's in Tipperary, for I love each hill and dale. From the famous Galtee Mountains to the lovely Golden Vale. And tomorrow I'll be on my way to scenes I love so well, where I played with my companions on the hills around Clonmel.
What's happening there?
No, that was Brian Caldwell with one of his many hits, and that was he was born in 1941. He was born. What was he born? Thomas Brian Call in Omagh, and he served. He was a carpenter. He helped out his dad. His carpentry business his dad had, and Brian was. Well, his dad was hoping he'd carry on the trade, become a carpenter, but he was always interested in music, and.
He was from Omagh, and he started singing. The first band I remember him with was the Platters. They were the Platters, then they became the Plattermen.
Well, he started off here. I'm just reading this, Tony. He started off.
You should have it up there like me. Look at that boy, have it all up there. I have.
He said, but he started off with the Polka Dots band in 1960.
Yeah, that's he was. That should be later, I thought now, because
he stayed with them for about a year. It says here, and then he joined the Plattermen.
But they were the Platters and the Plattermen then afterwards, yeah. And then he started his own band, the Buckaroos. And his uncle, of course, is very famous. His uncle was more famous than him, really, to most Irish people listening to the radio. His uncle was Benedict Kiley, Ben Kiley.
Oh, Ben Kiley from Kerry?
No, Ben Kiley from Omagh, outside.
Was that Benedict Kiley, the writer?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, yes, yeah.
He was his uncle.
Yeah.
And there was a documentary one with Ben Kiley. I remember watching it about, God, it must be 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Talking about, he brought, so I can't think who did the interview with him, but he said that his people came from County Limerick originally, going back 2 generations. Ben Kiley was saying this, out around between Kilmallock, Kilfinnan. And he was on about a man that I knew well who died, God, he's dead 15 years now, Mannix Joyce. Mannix used to write in the Limerick Leader every week from 1944. He had an article in the Limerick Leader every week up to about 5 years before he died. They were regurgitating all articles then, but Mannix was a great man for local history, who lived outside in Tankerstown, out near Brewery. But Mannix was, he used to work in the council, in the county council he used to work. And but he brought Ben Kiley around the area and told him all about where his people came from and that. And but Ben Kiley, I can't think of the village outside Omagh that they were from, that they lived in. And then Brian was chatting with the Buckaroos then for a long time.
I saw him playing in the Star Ballroom in Middle Street with the Buckaroos.
Oh yeah, he went into more country stuff. As I said at the beginning, he was on a lot of Slim Whitman stuff he used to sing, and a few of those songs.
He recorded an album in Nashville, I think, and Charlie Pride was very much taken by Brian Call, and Charlie Pride and his manager said, you could be a superstar here in America if you stayed. If you stayed with me for 6 months, you'd become a superstar in America. But he was he was happier. He came home. He was a home bird, as they say, and so
He
it
had a
never
bad
happened.
accident one night.
Yeah,
He was always adding to motorbikes.
yeah,
He was on a motorbike going to some as they say, some gig somewhere near. I think there's somewhere up in around Dundalk. He was on
yeah.
his
Cutter's County Loud, yeah.
and he got a dreadful pain in his head, and he stopped the bike, and it collapsed. He had a brain tumor. And you can see in that picture there now. I know what the scar is. He had a big scar. Lucky, he was very lucky where it was. And he was out of action for about, look at
Oh,
it
I
there
see.
now.
Don't
Yeah,
reside there.
that's the scar when you operated, because I remember talking to him afterwards. The last time I met Browne, he was travelling with this couple, the family called the Murphys, who were from somewhere in County Cork. And they were popular at the time. I think they were brother and sister. But I went to see them out in a pub in Newport and Bunke, Hearns, and he was out there. And actually, you know what he said to me that night was, when he saw me, I hadn't met him for a long time, he said, "Young Browne," and I said, "How are you doing?" And talking about bands, he said, "I'm writing a biography." And you were in this, he says to me. But he never got to finish it, so I don't
Yeah,
know what happened.
yeah.
I think it's a pity, really,
I think
because
it's
I had the
cheap.
photographs. I was interested, but he was a nice man. He really was. Now,
Yeah,
and
everybody who I was reading about, I was reading about him during the week, and Father Brian Dassey was at his funeral and all that, and he's buried up. He's buried just outside Oma in the local church, and anyway, he everybody had a good word. He was a pure gentleman.
he was
He had a
great
great sense
power.
of humor. Yeah, he had a great sense of humor,
Joy
and
and humor, And there were, I remember now talking to him, and there was one particular individual in another band who he didn't like. And I remember he had no qualms in telling me about him, And I still see him now and again on the television. And I'd have to tell him that Brian Call didn't like you. I didn't believe it
yeah,
now at this stage. But he did, because like, he had a great old way with him, But
yeah. No, we'll take a few people who are interested. We take another song from Brian, and this is dedicated to all the Marys out there.
Seven years I spent in Galway City, 7 years of happiness and pain. For I loved a lady from the mountains. Now I know we'll never meet again. She had eyes like pearls from the ocean, and she moved as graceful as the fawn. But she loved her hills of Connemara, and her heart was anchored on Benmont. Golden dreams are all I have to cling to, golden memories of Galway Bay, where I met my Mary from the mountains, and she stole my foolish heart away.
That was the late great Brian Call. He had some fabulous songs. He was and songs. I mean, people now who don't go around to live dances like you and I did in our generation. Music you could dance to,
no,
quick step or jive
although,
around.
funny enough, what came up on the other day God, I said to me, on my phone, would you believe, reels. Above in County Donegal, they have these jiving competitions. They're fabulous to watch.
Yeah,
No undone. And in the background, you have what's his name from Doom, Jimmy Buckley. You have him on singing. His daughter could be bands, and they're mainly done in the Abbey Ballroom in Donegal town. And they're reels, it's called, and they're all dancing. They have competitions and all jiving, And it's great to see the young people join.
Yeah, I was going to say that there's huge amount of young people doing it.
Oh, there
Huge
is.
amount.
Well, it's certain because you like those tunes that Brian Collins sang there now. They're real jiving songs. That's the one that them, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas some songs you can't jive to, but they have these competitions and they're fabulous dancers. Some of them, some of the young ones up
Oh,
there.
yeah.
And there's actually fellas taking on, which is a very hard thing to do, with two girls driving with two girls at the one time. Very difficult thing to do, where they have to wheel and you have to mind.
Yeah.
Their two hands are being used, you know.
Yeah.
Very difficult. But they're on YouTube. I'm sure you'll find them on YouTube.
Oh, you will. And I know what you're talking about because I've seen them on YouTube, and they keep you fit as well. And,
because it's something you can't jive at all, which is a shame, really, if you can't jive. Because
or even the basic thing like old time waltz.
yeah, well, I've never gone on old time waltzes now, but
Yeah.
for jiving, I would, you know, it's great to be able to jive to.
I think that's why Big Tom and the Mainlanders had that rhythm about them as well in their music. You know,
Some of them go too fast altogether, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Some of them, you know. You need a good beat, and like that, it's great to see them jiving. But there's girls on those videos done in Donegal. Some of them are done in I can't think. Some of them they're around that loan as well as some of them, but they're excellent to see some of them dancing. You can see some of them two left feet. You know them the clue. You know. So well able to jive. There were two now won the competitions. Alana was one girl, I know what your man's name, but to see her jiving, you know, and you can see them. You need flat shoes on, you see, you know, and they're well able to jump around with the flat shoes. But like that, you know, my jiving days aren't really over, you know.
No. I mean, you can jive at any age.
Oh, you can.
People watching can jive at any age. Maybe it's something that we should start up here. At the Limerick jiving competition, Johnny. What you think? There have been any papers for it? You have the email here. If you're interested, you can submit your interest, and we'll organise it.
Yeah, but you get some people in. Some fellas, I remember that years ago, going back to the 60s, like, there were fellas jiving. They thought they were the bee's knees, you know, they have the hair all greased back and they'd be doing all the motions and all, you know. And they were clowns. They thought they were brilliant at jiving. Some fellas did, you know. But you get these fellas everywhere, you know.
You do. It's just good to watch them. I used to like watching them.
There's no one as good as me, you know. I would meet them all the time, you know. But that's fine. It's like that anyway. Yeah, poor Browne, as I said, is gone anyway. And I think there's only two of the original platters even there.
Well, the P.O. something who was in the band with him, he died a month after Browne. I was reading. Browne was just short of his 80th birthday. He was born in 1940 when he died there 5 years ago, you know. That's the way.
The best musician they ever had, who's still alive, is Pat Chester's is his name. Pat lives in Omagh, and Pat was a brilliant musician, still is. And then Leo Dorn. Leo was a barber afterwards. Oh, Ray Moore, I forgot about Ray Moore. Ray Moore is still alive. That's three of the original band.
Well, Pat Chester's is someone we could go up to sometime and interview him, Tony. It'd be good.
Oh, Pat Chester's is very good. He's excellent. He's, you know, and he was Pat played with lots of bands. Although Ray Moore joined the Big Eight one time. Ray Moore did the trumpet player, and Ray still active. And Leo Dorn gave it all up. He became a barber in Omagh.
I didn't realise it, Tony, but I was looking about. We'll do for people who love showman stuff. We'll do a feature on Doc Carroll next week. I was reading about him. He was a young man when he died. Doc Carroll. He was only 63. I didn't realise that. You know, I was reading about him, and I think Doc Carroll and the Royal Blues were a fabulous band as well. You know, they were just fantastic. You know, and.
Music band. They done well after. So some of them went into other businesses like and done well. Was it Vincent Gill or Browne? There was one of them now was mixed up in some record company. I can't think which of them. Some fellas are lucky other bands. Like your man, what's his name, Dave Pennyfeather. He's very lucky. He got involved as well. Some of them get involved in management of bands. And they're kind of lucky, but they're few and far between now. Some of these.
A few bought hotels, a few ran hardware stores and stuff like that, and they were lucky. Like Larry Cunningham had his own supermarket up in Granard.
Oh, he had.
And he was able to do all right, you know.
He was able to play the fiddle as well. He used to take out the fiddle sometimes.
Yeah?
I remember one song he used to sing, On the Banks of the Roses. My love and I sat down, and I took out my fiddle for to play me love a tune, and he played the fiddle. Well, a quick step like. And I remember him playing the fiddle to that. And actually, I think it was the first I ever saw with a microphone on the fiddle. You know,
I saw him and his band playing down in that hotel there, down from the Tate Centre. It's closed down now. What's that hotel? Huh?
Which is a whereabouts?
In Limerick, just beside the church there in the square before the Tate Centre. The hotel down there.
The Glenport Hotel.
Huh?
Glenport. That's where I saw them last, actually.
Yeah, that's where I saw Larry Cunningham playing, yeah.
They ran dances there for a while, and they played because there was a fellow with me, and I didn't convince them were going to come out and walk us, the band, you know. I said that they're coming out, and I'll see them all were coming out and walk us. And he was waiting to see, because he didn't know where he was going. And they came out, and he was still kind of waiting to see where they were. But funny enough, they all remembered me, and I hadn't seen them for years. But the most of them are dead now. I don't think there's any of the mighty Evans alive.
The originals, I would say, unlikely. You know.
Yeah, the only one I know that's alive was a piano player, Ronnie Griffiths. Ronnie had his own band afterwards.
Oh, Ronnie Griffiths, yeah, I forgot about him, yeah.
Ronnie, I think, is still alive. Most of them are dead. Brian Finlay, and most of them now are dead over the years. Three brothers.
Did Declan Nerney play in a band with Brian Cole? Did he?
Who?
Declan Nerney.
He did. Oh, that's just in the song, sure. Where he said we went to play with the great Brian Cole. I can't think of the song this minute.
Oh, the Lackey and Drumlish, is it?
Lackey and Drumlish, yeah. That's when I first met Declan Nerney, actually, was with Brian Cole's band.
Oh, yeah.
We was at the Buckaroos, and that's how I got to know Declan Nerney.
And he's still going around touring. And do you know what I was reading about? Was the man.
That's the only thing. He's black, you know.
Do you know who's still going around as well? And he must be in his 80s. Is Brendan Shine.
Oh, he is. He's still playing all the time. And because I remember he was with the Cayley band, Kieran Kelly's band. I remember the Cayley band from Athlone, and because very few bands kind of came out of Athlone. Well, Sid and the Saints, Sid Shine and the Saints, they came out of there. You know, and they were, I think most of them, but I think there's only one of them alive now. But like that, when I meet somebody from a town or a village, I'll give a band and I'd say, tell me, how's Jimmy doing? Oh, poor Jimmy's dead, or he died 4 years ago. And, you know, very few friends to me still alive. You know,
we must go around and bring a tape recorder and talk to them and record them, because a lot of that.
It's a pity. It's a pity there's the proper showman program on the television. You know, that you could talk about fellas, and to be great interest to it. You know.
Oh, there's still a huge interest, because I mean that generation is still not around.
Still a huge interest out there that people have, but like that, it's a changed world, you know. And people say, "Will there be a revival?" It'll never happen again, because young people aren't interested. All they're interested in boom boom music, you know, and which you can't even dance to. You can go around and act the fool and throw your hands up in the air, you know. Yeah. That's all. But it's a pity.
There's what I call no rhythm to it.
Well, there's rhythm to that, right? You know, with boom, 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 boom. You know,
to really dance to it, yeah. It'll be challenging.
Dreadful. You know? I mean, the fellas in cars. No wonder that the increase in deafness has gone up. And people sitting in cars and have this music blaring, and they don't even know what they're on. You know, that's my favorite. Is to stop a car when I see them, and I make signs if I'm talking to put down the window, and they say, "What's that? What's wrong?" I say, "Would you have the words of that for me?" You know, they're looking at me with their mouth open. Give me the words of that song. I'd like to sing it the weekend, and I'll just bang bang music. You know.
I must say, I must remind our viewers that there's a mental health and wellbeing conference tomorrow, the 21st of March, in the Hope Cafe here in Shannon. And all of you who are listening, so all of you are in the Midwest and the Limerick area, it's starting at 9:30 in the morning, and it's going on all day. There's different talks during the day, so you don't have to come to the whole lot of it. You jump in and out when you like. There'll be tea and coffee available, and a light lunch as well, and hot and cold food. So at 1 o'clock. So we hope to see as many of you there as we can, and that's on tomorrow at 9:30. The main speaker, two of the main speakers are Dr. E. Clark from Galway, who won the All Ireland with Galway hurling team in 1980, and Dr. E. will be speaking, and Michelle Cope from the charity she founded called the Yellow Elephant. When her best friend took her own life, she found it good 3 years ago now. It's there in Georgia, USA. She'll be speaking to us from Georgia, and and we tested out the last night, so it worked perfect. It's run very smoothly, so something to look forward to there for people. Anyway, because I mean we have the terrible situation whereby the suicide rate in County Clare is one of the highest in Ireland, so it's something that we have to be conscious of, you know.
Terrible, really. Suicide. I mean, not every day, but every week we have another one of two. You know, it's terrible, really. You know that. I mean, I could be on all night, but you know, it's just identifying people now talking about it. You know, and
Yeah.
it's dreadful. You know,
It's
unfortunately. You
I
know,
mean, to reach that point in a person's life, and there are many young men, the destruction of young men. To reach that point in your own life that you don't see any way out, that you don't have any hope in humanity anymore, you decide to walk out of this life, walk out of this world. So it's I don't know what to say. I've been at too many funerals myself, and it's just there are no answers. It's just terrible, terrible, you know.
it's dreadful, dreadful. You know, anyway. And tomorrow night, the Limerick Historical Society have a talk on a subject that some people are interested more because I got mixed views during the week now. And I said, "What
Did
about
you?
Pope?" I have a girl talking on coming them on, and some people said, "Oh yeah, coming them on. I'd like to hear about them," you know. And then the man says, "We'll go out that show. There were only a crowd of women. There were only a crowd of women." You
And
see,
there were some very sassy women, some very good women, some very good leaders.
but it's amazing people's views on things, you know.
Yeah, it's a
You'd
long
be
time
amazed
ago.
what
I
people think.
mean, for years, as you know, the woman who went to surrender with Parley Pierce was airbrushed out of the picture.
Oh,
You know,
it's
it's
amazing.
only it's only when it was restored again, and I really, they're very, very interesting, those people. You know,
There's
and
some people, you know, well, the girl that's coming to talk, she's very good. She's Noreen Higgins. Well, she's married now. I can't think of her marriage name. Not that it matters, but she's well known under her own name. She's written a huge book, a big tome on the women of coming on.
yeah,
It's a fairly big book, you
would you
know.
get it in the library?
Oh, you would. It's obviously because by law you have to give a copy of the book not to the library, but you have to give it to the National Library by law. You have to give a book, and there's a few other one or two other libraries
Well,
there.
I know when I interviewed your man from UCD who wrote the biography of Charles Haughey. Remember that book that came out 2 years ago, Haughey?
Yeah,
That
hi.
big, that big book on Haughey.
Yeah,
And he's a historian up in UCD. I forget his name now, oh my goodness, and I interviewed him. But you can go in and order that in any library if you want a copy of it, if you want to borrow it,
oh yeah.
because I think
But
it's around
they can also
25
get you
euro. Hmm?
an interlibrary loan. If you want a book and it's published in well, not only, but if it's published in Dundalk and it might be scarce, Limerick Library can get that on loan.
They can, yeah, because I was
Free.
looking for, yeah, I know in Shannon, I was looking for a book on, he was an old boxer back in the 17th, 18th century from Mayo, and I came across, I couldn't get anything to read in him when I was doing the course this time on Heroes and Icons, and I went into the library in Shannon on chance, and I know them, Linda, she said, "God, I never heard of him now, Pat, could it?" I read out the title of the book, so she went on the computer. They had a copy in Galway, I think, in the library in Galway. She said, "I'll get that in for you." So So she did in fairness, so, you know. And
The little books, especially they're known for
it was out
specifying.
of print. It was out of print. Thank the books. It was out of print as well. You know.
You'd be me. I know University have the best one in Ireland. Outside University, there's Ken Bergen who runs what's known as the special collections out there. They have books out there that are really gone for you. Well, I'd read all history books, and they have them out there because they're
Well, can you borrow them, or you'd have to go out and read them there, would you?
You do. That's the only kind of a catch. Well, Ken is very well. Really, if I wanted to know something, I could ring Ken and he'd check it out for me. You know, he's very helpful. But they've bought. I know of 2 collections that they bought belonging to people. They bought the whole lot. And what they do is, I know another man that they bought his books from him now, paid him for the books, but he still has the books till he dies.
All right.
They have them all catalogued, and when he dies, the books go straight out to the special collections. And he has a huge collection of books, this man has. But it's one way of preserving things, you know.
It is. It is indeed. It is indeed. And what we were saying about losing our history, about the show band here, and talking to people who are still walking around, breathing, we should try and get. It's something we should look at ourselves, Tony. We'll go around the summer and.
It's difficult times. You have to go to these people's houses, and you have to. Some people then are not so much reluctant. Now I'm lucky. I'm giving a talk now next month out in Maru. Now Maru wouldn't actually be the capital of music in Ireland, but like that, at that I'll show slides of photographs of bands, and it does bring an interest in the audience. You know, I was very lucky now when I give the talk up in Mullingar. Mullingar, I can't think where I give the talk. Mullingar, and I was lucky that in the audience was Tommy Swarbrick, so I was able to use Tommy. Use him in the sense that because when you're telling yarns about bands, some people think you're making it up, you know. So I was able to use Tommy and say, "Would that have been true?" And he said it was, and he remembered it well, you know. Situations going into halls and what songs you play and everything, you know. And it's great to get knowledge put in that you know where we want somebody to confirm it, you know.
I think the bands just love coming, I think, to the Majestic in Mallow because there was hot food being served there was a great upstairs in the Majestic, you know. So they had decent hot meat for themselves anyway, you know, with tea and coffee and all, you know.
Yeah, well, Shetland used to take in huge money, and it's like that. And the only problem was they had to lease it because as Maxie was manager there, Maxie said the staff were eating too much. They were eating the profits, so they had to these 2 fellas who leased it, and they had it, and you were still entitled to whatever it was, but that's it. You weren't to mess with anything, you know. And I remember, big nights coming up. They get myself and the 2 Markhams, the 2 brothers, 3 of us in. They'd give us an extra £1.50 or £2 to make sandwiches.
Yeah, all right.
We used to have a great laugh making the sandwiches, talking about else. You wouldn't get away with it now, you know.
The HSC didn't come out to check you out, no?
No, this is your managed for the head used to say to us when they're doing the ham, put plenty of salt on it because the boys would be gasping, they'd buy more tea, coffee. I remember walking along with the salt thing in my hand and just pouring out, you know.
Oh, Jesus, all right.
So you got a fella coming up and he got eating there. You couldn't figure out what it was, you know. There was so much salt, but then we used to have inside making sandwiches. But the hang sandwich,
hang sandwich.
You know, but fellas used to eat them, like, you know.
Well, when you have a few drinks and you're going in, you'll have egg and chips upstairs in the Majestic. Egg and chips to calm you down a bit. You regain more of your senses to be a vital cog in the wheel that drives.
Some fellas there were together. All I saw was tea, and the tea. I don't know. It still happens today. You go in somewhere for a cup of tea, and the water is boiling since 11 o'clock this morning.
Yeah.
You get the cup, you put it up near your mouth. It's on fire, you know. is I don't know what temperature it's gone to. You know, it's boiling and boiling and boiling all day. But that still goes on in places. That I wouldn't drink tea anywhere now like that because I'm always aware of that. Of the pot, even in a cafe, I'd say no.
No, I don't drink tea out anymore because I like to make it myself. I drink coffee out, all right. Coffee is
No,
fine, you know.
see,
But
and sit at my own table, you know, and make my own tea. No,
yeah,
because you're going in and you know what tea they're using anyway. You know,
no,
it could be flown in from Hong Kong for this morning, you know. But like that, when you don't know, you can't see what they're doing, you know. But like that, the days of I remember in Jetland, the amount of people just to buy minerals. There was a company in Tipperary. I think they've probably gone out of business now. I think the Kellys, I think they were, and the amount of minerals used to
and
sell.
you had O'Connor's down in Cork in Kentuck.
No,
O'Connor's minerals.
in Tipperary, they had all the Reynolds halls they had, and this is
Kelly's.
the amount of minerals. And fellas would get a girl up, of course, would you like to come for a mineral, you know?
Yeah.
And you bought her
Well,
a mineral.
the first thing they'd say, like, would you like to come for a gallop?
But it was, I tell you, that, and some
Because
tried,
I tell you, Tony, women had a lot to put up with.
I tell you, but some fellas tried to be nice. And would you have a Lucasade by any chance, you know?
Oh, very posh.
You know, and I said, no, we haven't Lucasade, but there was a kind of a glucose drink made from about 3 tons of sugar, you know?
Yeah.
The man could dance all night after drinking it.
And you'll be breaking wind after them all night, you know, after those things.
He was able to do the twist and all. You see, fellas tried to do the twist. That's how they ended up with bad backs, you know.
Yeah.
Tried to do the twist, you know, and showing off, you know. But like that, you know, funny times, you know.
Yeah.
What people kind of put up with, you know, it was amazing, you know.
We've come to the end of another show, lads, and on Thursday for Tori and myself, and next week we may have one or two more on with us, and if all things being equal and everything is okay. But for this edition of the panel, from Tony Browne and myself, till we meet again as next week, take care, and don't forget the Limerick Historical Society talk on tomorrow night, Friday night, in the Redemptorist Hall, and we have our Mental and Wellbeing Conference at the Hope Cafe in Shannon tomorrow from 9:30 to 6 at all effects. So from Pat and Tony, good night, lads, and take care.
Yep.
This is Lair Media. To whom it concerns, welcome to the panel.